Hi all! Everything in my video is pulled from the public domain, and I am using them under the Fair Use, Fair Dealings guidelines. Everything I say is my own opinion. You should look into this information for yourselves, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Good morning, everybody. Oh my, oh my. All right. We now have day 2 of court, and of course the royals were out again. So we're going to do what we did yesterday. We're going to cover the royals. We're going to cover some of the trial, not all, but just the highlights and the final blow that came out that it made everybody go, oh, well, no wonder. All right, let's jump in and get there, shall we? Let's go. All right, we're going to start off with King Charles. He's back in the UK, and he went to the Wigmore Hall concert series. This took place at St. James Spanish Palace. Now, this entire concert was to celebrate King Charles's coronation. They had Handel's 4 coronation anthems played and something called a Dettingen Te Deum. There you go, which was performed by a leading French Baroque ensemble. Very nice. Charles looks very happy, very relaxed. He looked like he really enjoyed himself. I'm not sure who that young lady is next to him. If you guys see her in the yellow, because she then got in the car and rode with him, but I'm not sure who she is. But okay, looks like they had a fabulous time. Good for Charles. Moving on. We're going to talk now about Queen Camilla really quickly. She is being made a member of the New Zealand Order of Merit for her services to the country. I love that. The announcement was made in the King's Birthday and Coronation Honors List of 2023, which the New Zealand government published on Monday. All right, moving on. Next up, we have Edward, the Duke of Edinburgh, and he went to a place called Woodrow High House to hear about London's youths. Now, this is a group that works to provide outdoor learning to people that live in the city, so city dwellers can get a little taste of the country. And I just think it's lovely that he took this over from his dad. Following in his father's footsteps. He looks like his father. Do you guys see that? Yeah, he looks like his dad. I love it. All right, moving on to his wife. Remember yesterday, she went to the arts and crafts show at the Shooting Star Hospital, and then she went to visit the Art Venture Trust Limited, which helps people with disabilities and autism. Well, after she was done with that, she went to the Royal Surrey County Hospital and opened up a diagnostic wing. Very nice. All right, moving on. Now, today, the NSPCC is about to have their Childhood Day. This is a group that protects children, prevents abuse. And of course, Duchess of Edinburgh is their patron. So as such, Sophie went and spent the day at the Richard Atkins Primary School. Next up, we have the Duke of Kent, who went and opened up a Royal Armoured Corps Memorial and unveiled a plaque which commemorates the museum's centenary. It's the new memorial room, which honors the sacrifice of 13,000 RAC soldiers who have died since 1939. Very nice. Now we're on to Catherine, Princess of Wales. She went to the Maidenhead Rugby Club as part of her Shaping Up campaign into the impact of early childhood on a person's future. She wanted to hear from some of the players about their own childhood experiences. And remember, she is the patron of the England Rugby, so she had the rugby union logo on her shirt. Okay, so we know how sporting she is. She got right out there. She did some really, what they're calling, and I think they are too, grueling rugby reels. She looks like a ballerina. I'm sorry. She's the only person I know that could do walking rugby and look graceful at it, okay? She was playing against seasoned professional. So she got to the Berkshire-based club. She was there all afternoon, and then of course they sat down after she played, of course, for some serious conversations about childhood experiences and their lifelong impacts. Now, we know she's competitive. She got right in there. You would never know she's the mother of 3. There are some people that we know in the royal family who would never take off their super high heels because they can't stand the fact that they're short and get in there and get down and dirty. They saw her leaping through the air. She was doing twirls. She was grabbing that ball. She was all over the place. This is what we love. Now, the founder of a mental health charity called Brave Mind was also there in the conversation. And that group works with universities, schools, and other clubs to give a national platform to help rugby clubs and schools improve their approach to help supporting mental health in the community. We already know that Catherine has made it her life's work to help raise the awareness of their childhood, especially the first 5 years of life. We already know this. All right, also talking about Catherine and William, they went to visit a food bank in 2022 with Charlotte at the St. Thomas Church. Well, apparently on Saturday night, somebody broke in. They stole the food, the drinks, baby toys, and even bicycles. So the Reverend said it's been crazy because for 48 hours, we've seen so much kindness from people dropping in and dropping things off. And then he said he got a call from the palace that William and Catherine are going to replace everything. He said he's not surprised. Moving on. Here we go. I want to give you an update on the Biden administration. Remember, I told you yesterday that the Heritage Group went to court to make the Biden administration release Harry's visa application to make sure that he's being treated, that the law is being applied fairly. Well, a judge told the U.S. government they have a week to make a decision on releasing that information. And if they don't release the information, the Heritage Group has been given the go-ahead to sue. It's going to be, where they're going to get their hands on that information, guys. All right, let's move on to the UK case now. Jean was maybe thinking that Harry was wired in court. You have to wonder. And we wonder because then these pictures popped up online. Thank you to Kitty. This is Harry on the left walking into court and on the right walking out. And as you can see, he picked up an earpiece. This is when you sit back and say, I wonder what the judge is going to make of this. I want to recap a little from yesterday. Remember yesterday that Harry said that the media has blood on its hands, some of the news chiefs? Well, Susan Zirinsky is who supposedly paid the paparazzi for the images of Princess Diana dying in her car. And then she also co-produced Meghan and Harry's interview. Also, a few items from yesterday. Apparently, Harry claimed that the palace is planting stories. Remember, leaking and planning? But then he also admitted that the palace does not have a systemic habit of commenting on private matters. Harry was asked whose phone may have been hacked from a 2000 article, and he said, it could have been everyone from myself to my brother to Patty Haverson, but Mr. Haverson was not appointed till 2004. Harry was asked how he could be paranoid if there were articles that he wasn't even aware of or that he had read, and he also admitted that his spare memoir contradicts his evidence at the trial. Now, another interesting thing from yesterday was apparently Prince Harry's over 25,000 word count statement only mentions Meghan 5 times, but Chelsea Davy 118 times. Yeah, now the newspapers are going wild, the headlines. Harry is definitely getting a reality check. But I want to talk about one more thing from yesterday, and that is what Harry said about Paul Burrell. Paul Burrell came out swinging, and he said, now Harry has defamed him, and if Harry doesn't give him an apology, I think Harry might be embroiled in yet another lawsuit, because Harry told people that Paul sold Diana's stuff. Oh my goodness. So Harry sauntered into court again this morning. I think he must realize that he probably didn't do that well yesterday. I'm sure Meghan bolstered him. Oh, you're doing great, honey. But no, he did not do well. And some other information came out today. So once again, like yesterday, I'm just going to hit a few highlights because already this morning, Harry was ranting that the court case was being reported in the press, even though we found out that it's his team that's reporting it to Sky News. So let's look now at a couple of articles that they covered in court today. One of them is this article, What a Way to Harry On. And it's all about how Harry went to a match at Twickenham with a woman that, turned out to be Chelsea Davy. And he said, a lot of detail in the story is incorrect. And he said that the Mirror was trying to create a story, but was getting the wrong end of the stick. So the article says I was cavorting, and he says I wasn't cavorting, and the article is suspicious because there were 6 payments to private investigators in relation to this story. So whose phone do you think was hacked? And he goes, I don't know, because evidence was destroyed. The next article was again about Chelsea. Harry is a Chelsea fan. He goes, I don't even know how anybody would know who she is or where they got this information. And it was pointed out to Harry that at the time of this article, her identity and their relationship were already in the public domain, and that a Mail on Sunday article about the new relationship already had more detail on it. Next up, you have the article about Chelsea being in a new relationship, and that there was a quote from a good friend of Chelsea saying that Harry had called her up and begged her to take him back. He says this story was not flattering for him. And they said, are you aware that 2 of her friends were disclosing this information? And he said, well, I highly doubt that. So at this time, they show Harry an email that proves that a friend of the ex-girlfriend gave the information to a journalist. And what does Harry say? Well, this email could have been created by the journalist to make it look like it was legitimate. Oh my God. The next article about Chelsea Davy is about Harry's girlfriend wanting to drop him because he, quote unquote, loved the army more than her. He keeps saying, I don't remember when I saw this. I don't remember. He keeps reiterating, I don't know. I can't recall. But he says, this is so distressing for her as it is for me because, being out there in the public realm, you didn't think it was distressing what you wrote about her in your book? Then they look at another article again about Harry and Chelsea, and they're split because it says he loves boozing in the army, she's fed up and is heading home. Harry goes, well, that was gotten through ill-gotten means. And he says, are you aware that it was broken by the News of the World on their website the day before? And Harry goes, well, that article was suspicious too. He also pointed out, that the attorney did, that the report included the detail that Chelsea Davy changed her Facebook status to not in a relationship, and therefore anybody on her Facebook profile could have seen it. And he says, well, if indeed that's what happened, but I doubt she did that at the time. Oy. All right, we're just going to look at a couple more. There was this article about, Harry not being allowed to go back to Afghanistan because it was an unacceptable risk to the other service members. And Harry says, well, this is an obvious example of getting details about my private life. And the attorney says, you don't think that a senior royal serving on the front line is a matter of legitimate public interest? Really? And Harry goes, well, are you saying that while I'm in the army, everything was available for the press to write about? And with that, the attorney goes, let me just repeat. This isn't about you asking me questions. It's about me asking you questions. Boom. Okay, they went back again to the Godfather article. And in the article, it says that he's dabbling in drinking and drugs, which of course now we know by Harry's own words is absolutely true. And Mr. Sherborne says, well, how do you feel about those being included in the article? And Harry goes, it was unnecessary, intrusive, and I don't understand why they put it in there. Now, things get really interesting because Harry, it's basically pointed out to him that when it came to the other royals, there was all this cold data, but for him, there was very little available. And so Harry says, well, for him, they went to cover it up. They didn't bother to do it for the other royals, but they did for him. Now, you should know that Jane Kerr, who's a former Mirror royal correspondent, was brought into court. When Harry was quizzed about the Harry breaks thumb like William, he said that that information came illegally even after it was pointed out that the incident was first reported by the Press Association. He said that it was probably her or she got somebody to do her dirty work. Well, this woman went into court today and she said, I have never engaged in voicemail interception or anywhere. I have never engaged the services of private investigators or other third parties to engage in unlawful information gathering. And I want to reiterate in the strongest terms, I have never engaged in any voicemail interception. So Harry wouldn't concede even after he was told that it was first reported by somebody else. Now, the attorney also pointed out that there were other articles on the same day that the Mirror article was published, and Harry basically says he hasn't seen them. And Mr. Green goes, well, why not? And he goes, well, I don't believe that there was industrial scale phone hacking at those publications. And then he basically says, listen, I'm busy with other litigations. Now, with that, Harry says that he believes that the phone hacking started at the Mirror Group. Now, this is when it gets interesting. When he's asked about when he first went to attorneys to get some advice about a possible claim against the Mirror, what we found out is that he bumped into Mr. Sherborne, his attorney, in France. So he bumped into them in 2018, and he said it was all discussions about how to find a way to stop what was happening against me and my wife without using the institution's attorney. So basically, he confirmed he was groomed, in my opinion, I agree with what's written here, by Sherborne to take this action. So for those of you who missed it, what basically just came out was Harry launched this lawsuit because of Meghan. He wants to stop the abuse of Meghan. How many times have I said it before? That if they have 1,000 positive articles and 2 negative, that's all they see is the negative. So this entire thing was because of Meghan. There you have it. So yeah, all of this is because of Meghan. And he also said that he may have been hacked on a daily basis over 15 years, but also admits that he has no evidence to show he was targeted. Now with that, it brought me back to their worldwide privacy tour and what took place. Remember, she was claiming that this was happening because she was an ethnic woman and Prince Harry was going to go to her rescue and take care of this. But then in the end, he really wasn't able to take care of it. Could you just imagine when he gets back to Montecito, he's going to look at her like this. They're going to sit on the couch and she's going to cry and he's just going to be like, okay, we'll find another way to take care of this. Oh my goodness. So I agree with this Twitter user. It's not just about the hacking. It's about making sure that only positive stories are written about Meghan Markle. Problem is the world doesn't work that way. I mean, is anybody else surprised by this? She didn't even come to the UK with him. She threw him to the wolves. But then Archewell suddenly put something else to try to divert attention. So with everything going on, and remember, Harry and Meghan said the UK are horrible racist people, their foundation is donating £10,000 to get a diverse book in every UK secondary school. It's a colorful view from the top, entrepreneurs, executives, and thoughtful leaders from ethnic minorities. I gotta be honest, if I were the schools, I wouldn't accept the books. Just not because it's not important, but because it comes from people who are calling you a racist. That's my personal opinion. And I agree with Andy's mom. This is when you realize you've just lost 2 days of your life trying to satisfy your narcissistic wife. Yep. Now, I completely agree with this Twitter user. Prince Harry found out that the journalists who might have hacked his phone actually belonged to a newspaper that no longer exists. They were already convicted, and Harry's mad because his brother got a huge payout. So Julia Brewer on Talk TV made a statement that I think is what everybody wants to say to Harry if they could. Listen to this.
Harry certainly dominating the news, dominating front pages today in the court, not just of public opinion anymore, in the court, in the High Court. He's been facing a grilling in the witness box, first of 2 days of grilling by the barrister for Mirror Group newspapers in the phone hacking trial. This trial involves the claims that 33 different articles written over many, many years, dating all the way back to Prince Harry's childhood, were basically in the news and in the public domain as a result of illegal activity. Whether it was phone hacking, blagging, people pretending to be someone they weren't to get information, or other nefarious means. He's been, lashing out at everyone he can. He claims that the media, the tabloid press in particular, is responsible for pretty much every woe in his life. And we'd all have a lot of sympathy for that if it wasn't for the fact that this is a man who's quite happy to give away his own private information. A man who is quite happy to sell his own private information. A man who is happy to put the video of him proposing to his wife in one of the most intimate moments of his life onto Netflix. Well, to the tune of many, many tens of millions of pounds in fees. Is this a man we can take seriously, saying that the intrusions into his privacy have damaged him when he intrudes into his own privacy all the time? Except he doesn't like it when a newspaper does it, but he's perfectly happy to do it when it's a journalist he's chosen, or when it's a talk show host like Oprah Winfrey, or when it's Netflix paying him large sums of money, or when it's his own book Spare and you're able to buy a copy. So it seems to me that his life is private, except when he is being paid to make it not private.
So in the end, I found this article, which is really funny. He wants a private life where he can still be the center of attention. He and his wife tell everybody they want to be left alone, but yet they're doing interviews, podcasts, memoirs. They say the media has ruined their lives, fully in the knowledge of everything that the media has given them. So it's very hard to have sympathy for them. But in the end, what this article basically points out is that Harry says he's bringing attention to journalistic badness, things that are, things bigger to him than that. He wants to expose the press because, in his words, it has a rotten soul. Okay? But how could Harry's phone have been hacked when he didn't own one? Is it fair to accuse a journalist of unlawful information hacking when the details of their story were already in the public domain? And is there anything more specific he wants to point to beyond general speculation? That's what the article says. We know that Harry wants to have everything with no consequences. We know he can't see his contradictions. We know that he's self-righteous. We know that he's blaming the press for his behavior, saying that if they hadn't written it about him, he wouldn't have behaved that way. Worse than that, he's saying that the press did damage to his private life, not even looking at the fact that he wrote Spare, which showed no demonstration for the private life of his own family. Okay? Harry has had such a life of privilege. The problem is he's a hypocrite and a terribly damaged man. He is a spoiled brat, self-absorbent, and I don't know what the world's going to do with him. So this is the life Harry's chosen, and he's got to live it. So leave those comments below. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell. Don't forget to go into my description box and get the links to my Twitter, my Getter, my Rumble, my email. There's a physical address in case there's something you want to send me. For those of you who've donated to my coffee fund or through my thanks button, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.